Coming towards the end of my 3-year degree, the best advice that I can probably give you is to go out there and get work experience. I think the first time I tried getting work experience was when I was 14 and I went into KCFM and left my CV with them and asked if they had any Saturday jobs, which I think was probably a bit ambitious considering I didn't have any knowledge of the industry. And then when I'd gone into college, I tried contacting Jamie, I'm not sure if you'll remember, when I was, I think, 16 or 17, asking for work experience, and then he explained to me that they wouldn't take me on because I wasn't doing a degree. And you'll find that a lot if any of you are at college and you're trying to get work experience, it's really tough. And if you're applying through UCAS as well, you'll find that a lot of the courses that you want to get onto, you do need work experience to get onto them, and it's difficult because nobody will give you that work experience when you're at college. So when I'd started my degree, I immediately started contacting people asking for work experience. I think I was 2 weeks into my course, I'd barely learnt anything at that point. And I finally heard back from Viking FM. And I was so excited to hear back from him, even though it was just updating the journalist contact books, which were literally this big, and there was 2 of them. A lot of the contacts in the book were for people that they spoke to before I was even born. So I had quite a few awkward conversations when I rang people up and they'd actually died 10 years before. And I was told that I had to contact everyone in the book as well. Some of the references were quite strange. There was one under Borrow a Baby and another one under Hot Sexy Video. So that was some quite awkward phone calls that I had to make. But I did that 1 day a week for 3 months, with the exception of one time where I got to go out with a reporter and do some interviewing and film for their website. But when I left the placement, I felt a bit down about what I'd been able to do on the placement. I felt like I wasn't able to show my potential and what I could actually do. Partly because I don't think I was outgoing enough, but also because I did feel like I wasn't given the opportunity. But that was probably the most important work experience placement that I ever went on, because it taught me what not to do and what to do. On my course, we was lucky to have a BBC presenter teaching us for 1 day a week for 10 weeks. And I managed to impress her with some of the films that I'd done and asked her for some work experience. A lot of BBC companies now don't advertise for work experience, or if they do, you can only do 1 per year. But I was lucky enough to get 4 days work experience. So I had 4 days to make myself as invaluable as possible and make a big impression. And she was impressed because we'd been to court, and I knew a lot of stuff that she'd actually forgotten because her training had been 10 years before. And she was really impressed by what I knew and asked me to come back every Sunday, which I did for about 2 years. And I got to cover a range of stories, some that attracted national news as well. Stories that were on for TV and radio, so I could see how it was against both platforms. I've been given the opportunity to film, to edit, to do screen tests, and some of the people that I've worked with have become really good friends. So it has been a really good experience for me. A lot of people find it difficult though to find work experience because a lot of places will not reply to emails, or they just kind of get lost in the sea of people that are trying to get work experience. But another advice, another aspect that I would say to you to do is to go up to people at events like this and ask for work experience. I was at an event at Leeds Trinity's Journalism Week last year, and Duncan Wood was there, who presents for Calendar. And I couldn't understand how people weren't going up to him and asking him for advice. They was more interested in going up to him and getting a photograph with him and updating the profile picture, which I thought was really odd because nobody was asking him about work experience opportunities. So I waited until everyone had had their picture taken with him, and then I went over and I introduced myself, said who I was, and asked if there was any work experience opportunities. He then explained to me that they've set a partnership up with Leeds Trinity University and that they wouldn't normally take anyone on from other universities. But I got his contact details and emailed him a few days later, and then he passed my details on to his news editor, who set a placement up with me fairly quickly. And I was given a week to go in and make a big impression. And when I turned up on my first day, there was also a postgraduate student there, which I immediately thought all of the opportunities would go to her because she was on a further course than I was, which wasn't the case at all. She was sent out with a reporter on a fairly short journey, and she fell asleep. So instead of asking questions, And then I'd often walk by and she'd be on Facebook. So instead of sticking to her side like some people probably would because she was in the same situation as me, I managed to sit most days with the news desk. And because they cover such a wide region, I obviously knew a lot of the stories that were going on in Hull, which sometimes they would miss. So I'd suggest the stories, and they used quite a few of them, so much so the jerk that I could be their Hull correspondent, which I kind of hoped I could be. But so what I would say is you need to show that you're outgoing and that you've got initiative and that you can do that. Another thing that I would say is in the last 2 years, I've barely had a day off, and I've had to really go out my way to try and get these placements. I've had to go to Sheffield, to York, to Lincoln when it's been snowing, when there's been flood warnings, and you have to get there for 5 AM and there's no excuse for it. You have to be there. You can't get up late, and you've got to show that you're dedicated enough to turn up and to do that. And if you go out into the industry, you'll find as well that a lot of people move about, and it's really not as big as you think. I've been on various placements in Hull, and then by the time I've gone to York, one of the reporters will have left and will be now working in York. And it does make an impression when you walk in and you know people in the industry and they know what you're capable of. And it shows that you have got a lot of experience. What I would say as well is it's becoming increasingly competitive because of the likes of citizen journalism, and it is really good to have blogs, but a lot of content can get lost online, which is why I think work experience is really needed. You can't just go on the fact that you've got this online portfolio showing what you can do. You need to show that you're dedicated and you're going out there and you're getting this real life experience. And yeah, that's probably my advice.